Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into an ancient strategic concept that honestly feels like it was made for our modern world. We're talking about Kun, this hidden power of yielding to build incredible resilience and, believe it or not, strength. Let's get into how it works. So let me just start with this question. What if the greatest power isn't about pushing forward, but about yielding? It's a pretty counterintuitive idea, right? We live in a world that just loves aggressive action and constant hustle. But today, we're going to explore a totally different path to strength, one that's all about endurance, nurturing, and some serious strategic patience. At the very heart of this is the concept of Kun. The best way to think about it is to just picture the Earth. The Earth doesn't fight, it doesn't push back, it just endures. It receives everything, nurtures everything that grows on it. And that, right there, is the fundamental nature of this power. It's receptive for sure, but it is also incredibly strong and unbelievably persistent. Now, to really get a handle on Kun, it actually helps to look at its complete opposite, Qian. So if Qian is the creative energy of heaven, active, dynamic, always initiating things, then Kun is the receptive power of the earth. One is yang, the other is yin. They're two halves of a whole, and understanding this dynamic, this interplay, is the foundation for this entire strategy. So the big question is, how do we actually cultivate this power? Well, the wisdom of Kun is laid out in a really cool 6-step journey. You can think of it like you're climbing a ladder, where each step, each rung, takes you to a deeper level of strategic understanding, starting with just basic awareness and going all the way up to true mastery. So here it is, here's our roadmap. We're going to walk through each of these 6 stages. Treading on frost, straight, square, great, containing excellence, the tied-up sack, the yellow garment, and then finally a really crucial warning called dragons in the wild. Let's kick things off at the very beginning. Okay, step 1 is all about foresight. The old saying goes, when you tread on frost, solid ice is not far behind. It's all about recognizing those small, early warning signs. In today's world, that means dealing with a minor disagreement on your team before it freezes over and becomes a huge morale-destroying conflict. It's about nipping problems in the bud. This next stage really gets to the core character of Kun. Straight means you've got this unshakable inner core of principles. Square means you're flexible and adaptable on the outside in your actions. And great means you're guided by a large, encompassing vision. It's about having total integrity in your purpose, but real flexibility in your tactics. So, stage 3 is about strategic humility. After you achieve something big, the first impulse is to celebrate it, to shout it from the rooftops. But this stage says, no, contain your excellence. Don't advertise how brilliant you are. Just let your results do the talking. This is how you avoid becoming a target for envy and save your energy for the next big move. From managing success, we now pivot to surviving a crisis. Stage 4 is your game plan for turbulent times. When everything feels uncertain, the smartest thing to do is act like a tied-up sack. Be discreet, hold on to your resources, and just keep quiet. This is not the time for bold moves. It's a time for survival, for avoiding both blame and praise, and just quietly weathering the storm. And this stage, this represents the absolute peak of Kun's power. The yellow garment is a symbol for humility, for being grounded, just like the earth itself. The idea here is that the most profound, the most lasting success comes to leaders who don't need to use force. Instead, they use a gentle, unifying influence that earns them genuine respect and loyalty. But, and this is a huge but, every strength has a breaking point. And this is Kun's danger zone. If that receptive, yielding power gets pushed too far, if it turns into rigid suppression, it snaps. And the result is dragons fighting in the wild, a totally destructive conflict where absolutely everyone loses. It's a vital warning that yielding has to be a strategic choice, not just endless submission. So, to just quickly recap this whole journey, we start by seeing the small sides. We build a character that is both principled and flexible. We learn to manage our successes quietly, survive crises by being cautious, lead with humility, and then finally, we understand the absolute limits of yielding. You see how each step builds on the last one? Okay, so after hearing all of that about yielding and being receptive, you might be thinking this is all about being passive, accommodating, maybe even just being a doormat, but that is a complete misunderstanding of what's going on here. The real secret to Kun is its hidden, unbreakable strength. Let's just tackle this question head on. Is cowering just a fancy way of saying you should be weak and let people walk all over you? The answer is a hard no, absolutely not.
and the reason why is critical to understanding this entire strategy.
You see, the power of Kun really lies in its two layers. On the surface, yeah, it looks yielding, accommodating, willing to avoid a direct fight. But underneath that flexible exterior is an inner core of pure steel, a firm bottom line, unshakable principles, and this relentless persistence for the long game. And this is not just theory. Just look at Denmark during World War II. On the surface, they complied with the occupation. That's the yielding part, while secretly organizing to save nearly their entire Jewish population. That's inner steel. Or look at Huawei, which outwardly followed international rules while secretly developing its own backup chip technology, its own inner steel, to make sure it could survive sanctions. All right, let's zoom out one last time. Kun doesn't just exist in a vacuum. Its true power gets unlocked when it works in perfect harmony with its opposite, Qian, that creative force. This partnership is the ultimate balance. I mean, you can't find a more perfect modern example than the leadership transition at Apple. Steve Jobs was pure Qian, a daring innovator who pushed boundaries and literally changed the world. But his energy was so intense it could risk breaking things. Tim Cook, on the other hand, he embodies Kun. He is the operator who brings stability, who manages risk, who builds the enduring systems. You absolutely need both for ultimate sustainable success. If you take just one thing away from this entire explainer, let it be this thought right here. Softness isn't weakness. Acceptance is strength. The capacity to receive, to endure, to be flexible, that is the source of true, lasting power. You know, in our chaotic and just ridiculously fast-changing world, the aggressive, head-on approach, it often fails. The real question we should be asking is, how do you endure? And Kun gives us an answer. It's the power to take root in a storm, to be the anchor in our turbulent age. And that is the kind of strength that's really worth thinking about.